Greetings, the tubes. Hi, Mom. It is me, again, the guy with bad taste in hats. And it is another lovely Sunday uh, in, according to my friends, the middle of the Mojave Desert. Um, yeah. Anyway, it was a challenging week, so I decided to go for a drive in the middle of nowhere. This is the view on the way to a place called Kennedy Meadows. Um, we're at about 8,000 feet, and here in the Sierra Nevada range. And it is a beautiful, oh, I think maybe 65 degrees here in September 5th or 6th, I think. And of course, behind me, my trusty steed. uh, oh, a bird. Lots of hawks up here. There's a few eagles every once in a while, but you run across them very infrequently. Anyway, not a whole lot. I suppose I should dispense my weekly great wisdom from my many years on the planet. And, wisdom fails me these days. But, that's the funny thing. You like to think that the older you get, the smarter you get. That might have been true when the world moved more slowly. Now, where everything seems to move at about warp 7, uh, I, I, I don't, you fumble because what was true yesterday is not true today, or it sure seems that way. The only thing that's not changing is, well, human nature, for better or worse. I, between, what was it? Last night I was watching an Apple TV series called The Foundation, which was built based on Isaac Asimov's books, which I read back when I was 17. And I hate to be reminded. That's funny. The bird over there is right in the wind. He looks like he's staying just right in place. There he goes under the horizon. Looked like he was just staying still, which he kind of was, because and there he is again, or different bird, in the same place. If there were such a thing, well, I guess there is kind of a thing as not reincarnation, recycling, I guess, would be more accurate. Ooh, nice tree stump. I think I'll stand on the tree stump. Oh! See, funny thing, when you get older, my brain is still 17. My body reminds me I'm not. If only you could live backwards. Of course, Benjamin Button, I guess. But no, I remember reading Isaac Asimov when I was, 17, 18, was in the military, was working all kinds of weird rotating shifts and had hours and hours and hours of not shit to do, and my only orders were don't fall asleep. So got to read a lot. I miss that. I miss the fact that the world used to run at a slower pace, and you're young and you have nothing but time, and the idea of getting a 380-page book and actually reading it seemed like rather mundane stuff. Now it seems like an incredible luxury to take out the 2 or 3 days to read an actual book, even if my eyesight was willing. Seems like an extravagance that we can't afford anymore. That's a shame. And part of what my thinking for this week has been. So right now, it's funny that on the variety of things that I'm hearing on the various YouTube channels that I listen to, there's a lot of referencing back to the foundation. That seems to be in top of mind again. Uh, because there is a feeling that the the stable world that we're used to is about to implode, and and plunges into some form of darkness, and some effort needs to be done to try and preserve things so that we don't go the way the Library of Alexandria did, and knock us back so far that it takes us centuries or millennium to crawl back up to where we were. And these are good stories. You've all heard them. I've heard them my whole life. Um, and of course, the popular thing that you see on the tubes these days is, well, everything you know is wrong. And they dig into it, and the stories you were told were just stories, and the reality was blah 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 blah. And I'm sure the story of the Library of Alexandria is another one of those. Yeah, you didn't hear it. What they told you is not really what happened. Surprise. you know, at this point, I can't help but imagine what my life would have been like had they told me true stories instead of the wild, fantastical bullshit. The trap that they made for my mind to make sure that I behaved a certain way and I fit in a certain place in society, wouldn't cause a lot of fuss, and pay my taxes, and there was a certain amount of economic activity that they could extract out of my soul and my body that that they felt was reasonable. And strangely enough, when they're negotiating it, what they think is reasonable is probably not the same thing I would have negotiated had I been aware that there was a negotiation in effect. But that's rule one of winning negotiation tactics. Make sure the opposing side doesn't realize they're negotiating, or that there are options available, and that sucks. But humans. um, But yeah, the foundation, and of course, um, I live sometime in here, as we said, and I live sometime in Los Angeles, and it plays havoc with my mind sometimes, recalibrating from neighborhoods with graffiti, broken out windows, homeless, crazy people on meth. Shit on the sidewalks, the rule of law disintegrating, and yeah, you've heard me bitching with this before. I'm not bitching. I'm telling myself I'm not bitching. I'm telling myself the world has changed in some uncomfortable ways. It's a cycle, you know. It will pass. I'm more terrified over what's coming than what is currently. Because at least what is somewhat recognizable. What's coming, and so trying very hard not to retreat into the idea of the golden age we must retreat to, as beautiful as all of this is. Nobody in the 20th century that's sane really wants to go back to an existence where you move out in the middle of here with an axe and a mule, and work very hard the next 2 or 3 decades to find enough calories to not die. And hopefully, if you can avoid being eaten by an animal, or eating the wrong berry and dying, or catching pneumonia because you didn't have enough firewood, and then the snow in the winter was a little bit too rough, and you didn't have enough calories, and you X'd out again. We romanticize that shit. You don't want to live it. Nor do you want to live in the world of the science fiction nightmare that we seem to be obsessing with trying to create. Absolutely not. Star Trek sounds like a neat idea, but imagine that for a moment if you lived in that. A completely synthetic environment, artificial everything, and almost every waking moment of your day is uh, some uh, science bordering on magic level thing trying to annihilate you. Uh, Day after day after day. Humans are not built with that. It's a great thing to tune into and have a little adventure. But the great thing about it is you get to sit in your living room, eating your popcorn and having your nice cool beverage and playing What If. You have no skin in the game. It's a little dopamine squirt, a little anxiety. Of course, most of Star Trek is the morality play of how how to behave gracefully under times of extreme stress, and that's not a bad thing at all to go through. But it's like so we can ding pop media and culture with all the mixed messages and how it has been reduced to just rabid consumerism, um, and and certainly those things are in there, um, but if we keep falling for the same trap, they're going to keep building the same trap. I mean, we love to point to evil corporations and their amoral behaviors, but you know what I've noticed with every corporation that I've ever seen? They're composed of people uh, that look like me and wander in the morning and drink their coffee and bullshit for a few minutes with their coworkers and do some mind-numbing thing and disconnect their emotions and their morality from whatever activity they're in because they don't want to think about it. So you can drive home through the hour's worth of traffic, plunk down and watch Star Trek, and feel like there's something missing from your life. And there's a reason why you're feeling that because it's true. Um, you you amputate so much of yourself. You tell yourself that you're doing these for good reasons, that you need to do this until you get to the point where X happens, and then you can finally start living by your morals and your ethics and doing the things you want to do. Uh, Take it from a 58-year-old man who did that, is still kind of doing that. No, no, stop it. Stop being stupid. Wake up. Um, yes, you got to pay the bills. Yes, you got to pay the mortgage. Um, but if you're not living in a manner that is nourishing you, if you're not living by some recognizable code of morals or ethics, or doing your damnedest inch by inch to move closer to it with every day, one of two things: either you need to jettison your morals and ethics and adopt a new rule set because it just doesn't fly in the real world that you're living in, or you need to jettison your view of what you think the real world is, uh, and start moving towards whatever those ideals are that you tell yourself you believe in and never practice and never live. Um, and if so much of what I say sounds like preaching, yes, I'm preaching to myself. I am the idiot that did all the wrong things, and told myself that I just needed to keep eating the shit, um, and following the routine everyone else was following, so that I could get to X point in my life where I didn't have to do that anymore. Um, I was stupid. I'm still stupid. Um, the only advice I've ever been able to give anybody that's truly honest is, if you want the life that I have had, then make the choices that I made. If you look at my life and you find it lacking, I suggest you make different choices. Um, and that's the fairest thing I can ever say. I'm not a bad person. Can't say I'm a particularly good one either. At best, average. Hard to say. If I can leave this world and the tally is at zero on both sides, I'll consider myself a fortunate man. But right now, to be brutally honest, I think I'm in negative territory. Not because I've murdered people on purpose, poisoned streams, or committed genocides, I didn't do anything to stop them either. Um, and you know, you delude yourself. You you drive your Cadillac Escalade and wear your Chinese-made clothes and your Indonesian slave labor tennis shoes, just like I did, just like I'm doing now, and tell yourself, occasionally that you're a good person and you don't believe in those things, but you participate in them every day of your life. Um, yeah, I had no problems with the idea of wokeness, of being aware of at least a couple steps beyond where you're moving, to at least imagine what the consequences of what some of your behaviors are having on the world. Um, it didn't go far enough. It needs to be expanded some. Some of the answers were uh, simple solutions to impossibly complicated problems, which doesn't work out so good. But not the wrong track. Um, the people who consider themselves conservatives, and once again, I have no idea what the fuck they think they're conserving, except I don't know, narrow-minded thinking, um, uh, imbalance, unfairness, greed. I don't know. Um, I am getting sick to the core of my being of listening to this never-ending series of shit of, oh, we're going to go extinct. People aren't fucking enough. People need to have more kids, and they need to go back to church, and they need to pray to the Christian God, the Christian one, of course, not any of these 7,000 others. Um, and and they need to turn off the porn, and they need to turn off the video games, and they need to embrace the suffering that is the world. They need to commit themselves to something, ideally something that makes money for people, not necessarily them. And you need to delay gratification, and there is some truth to that, but I really don't think most of these people that are talking about these things are being honest about what they're really up to. Uh, they seem to be terrified that the economy, that in their now late 50s and 60s and such, they rely on continuing to operate the same way it always did. So they get to retire and get all the benefits that the system said that they were supposed to get. That only happens if the next generation of people allow themselves to be yoked in the same way. Well, since there's few of them, yoked in even worse diabolical ways, and bleed themselves out to support the older generations. And I think younger people are smart enough to know that's a stupid game, because there's no one coming to do that for them. Um, the contract, the social contract, has been broken, shattered irreconcilably. Um, if you're in your 50s and you're hoping that you're going to retire at 67, I guess, yeah, 67 or 69, um, and that the system will support you like it did, the boomer generation. Nope. Stop it. Delusional. Making poor kids that can't afford to form families feel even more guilty because the system is broken, and this stupid shit of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They can't afford bootstraps. You took it away from them. That's unfair. That's bayoneting the wounded. That's kicking puppies. Um, so many of the people in the Western world uh, will never get a chance at the life they were promised was possible if they just went to school and just worked hard enough. And to have the unmitigated gall to tell them they're just not applying themselves hard enough. Really need to knuckle under. yeah, if there was something that was honest for them to apply themselves to, absolutely. But to work twice as hard as a rigged game that only has one outcome and it's not in your favor, uh, well, no one's falling for that anymore. My generation was the last one to fall for that. At least even then, the game still kind of worked a little bit. Uh, yeah, maybe a 3-for-1 return, but uh, or actually a 1-for-3 return, um, reversed. But no, different rules. We're entering into a new game, um, and and uh, the assholes are being assholes. They're what is that? False argument, right? They're they're putting propaganda out disingenuously, um, hoping that it'll still work long enough. It won't. But that's the nature of systems that are ending. Part of the reason why they're ending is they've gotten so far and so long in the tooth they can't recognize they're ending. Um, that's always the indication that yeah, that's over. But is this the end of humanity? Certainly not. It is the end of this chapter and the beginning of something else. And certainly the thing that I focus on at 58, what I should be doing, the world tells me, is I should be embracing myself in the wonderful quilt of remember when. And to some degree, yeah, you could say I'm doing that. Since I have a little bit of time and a little bit of leeway, I am recreating some of the things that I lost to get to here. I am taking a little bit of trip down memory lane, if you will, somewhat, but not that much. Uh, I keep one foot firmly planted in the 21st century and looking ahead, and a lot less looking behind because you have to, because the past is the past. Um, we're not with some luck, we're not retreating to cabin in the woods with an axe and a musket. I don't, and hopefully we're not advancing towards whatever the hell Star Trek or Mad Max or Terminator 2 or any of that shit is. What the future has in store for us, it's a story we're making up right now. It's a game we're creating now. And if I were anyone, if I was anyone still alive that's not retired, I would be actively trying to find ways of engaging in describing what we want the future to be, and less less bitching about what we've lost or what we're about to lose. Now is the time we construct the new game. Because the new game's going to get constructed anyway. Right now, there are very powerful people in very powerful places that think they know what the game should be, and they've spent years, decades, maybe centuries, who knows, planning this game out. You know what? I didn't get the invitation to the conference. I never got that survey. The idea of leaving it all to them to figure it out and hope that they got it right for a life that I can tolerate. That sounds kind of silly, doesn't it? Nothing I know about people in positions of power tell me that they obsess and spend their nights tossing and turning, going, I wonder about the little guys. No, they're humans. They're making the decisions that they think are the best ones for them, which means we need to be much more active in making the decisions that are the best ones for us. They may hold the power, but power's a funny thing. Power is borrowed. It's an illusion. It's they have lots of little green pieces of paper and zeros in computer banks, and and social networks where they shake hands and talk about investment strategies and shit like that. It's not actually power. The power is they've convinced you that all those things mean they have power. They fly around in the Learjets and they go to Davos and they have the board meetings and that type of stuff. But it is an illusion. It's like Santa Claus. It only works if you believe it works. You take away their power by the same way you take away the power of any myth. You quit believing in it. And a wasp has decided that I'm the most interesting thing ever right now, and is trying to land on me and eat me while while I'm having this video. So I guess it's time to. I guess it's telling me to shorten this up some. But yeah, foundation, past, future. Keep your eyes on the future. Start working more actively on the future. Quit going down the rabbit holes and distracting and deluding yourself in comfortable illusions and many, many hours of whatever your favorite distraction is, whether it be video games or binging Netflix or doing very interesting drugs. All things in moderation. Make sure that you're making enough time for doing the important things get done too. I am not a big fan of this bullshit of delayed gratification. Yes, some delayed gratification, but you know what the world, when they're talking about delayed gratification, now what they mean is infinitely delayed gratification. Work yourself to death to give the product of your efforts to someone else and then go die. No. No, don't do that.